This is, well, it's a Psion organiser too, and inside it's got my recreation PCB set. There's two PCBs in there, and it's great really. I mean, it's indestructible, and it's got all the features of instant on, and you can take notes and all that sort of stuff. There's one problem with it though, which is to do with the case, and unfortunately whenever I put it in my back pocket and I'm carrying it around, it has a habit of falling out. So it's just the shape, the size and so on. It's pocket size, you can put it in a pocket, but you know it's there, and it just has this habit of jumping out, which isn't really brilliant. So I decided to make a different form factor for the recreation. So rather than going in the original case and replacing the original PCBs, it's a different form factor altogether, and this is a different set of PCBs. Well, it's one PCB really, with some tactile switches on, OLED display, and internally there's a lithium-ion battery charging module, just one from eBay, which is charging at the moment. You can see there's sort of a red glow over here, and a little lithium-ion battery. So it's running off lithium-ion. This is just a jumper so I can disconnect it while I'm developing the code, because occasionally it locks up, and when there's a battery, can't turn it off. With the original organiser case, you can just disconnect the PP3 battery. And this is running the same code, but it's been changed slightly so you've got more pixels. There's a bigger display. Well, slightly deeper in this direction. It's actually, I think it's the same number of pixels horizontally. And that's fine. This is very much a prototype, as you can see, but it's held together with tape and bits hanging out and all sorts. The clear case is just so I can have a look and see how well things fit. The front display is is not actually in the case. That was because I had it soldered on the PCB originally, and I wanted to do some stuff and I had to take it off. So that's fine, but I didn't like the case. I just didn't like the way it looked. I don't really know why. I just don't like it. So while I was, or just after I'd made that, I got this, which is a Sinclair Scientific replica, and this also runs off a lithium-ion battery. It's got some tactile keys, and this is actually an anodised aluminium case, and PCB on the front. So you can see on my attempt here, the case has the keys coming through it, and the case is really the front of the unit. This just feels really nice in the hand. It's probably the aluminium. It's got a bit of weight to it, and it's pretty sturdy as well, and I really like that. So what I did was I made this, which is along the same lines as the Sinclair Scientific replica, but it's a resin case. It's running the same code, and it's got a lithium-ion battery, the same arrangement with a module, generic charging module, and same display as this, but it's the same sort of construction. It's got the resin case on the back. There's a PCB inside which has got the Pico on it, so it's a Pico. Goes on the back with some keyboard scanning stuff, and a display goes there. Pico goes here, and there's an SD card slot, and there's also space for a real-time clock. I haven't actually tested that, but there is a space for a real-time clock there, plus some circuitry. So you've got your soft off, so the off is done with the Pico, the on is done with this switch here actually supplying battery voltage to the circuitry and powering it up. Once the pico's up, it latches that on and holds it on, and when it wants to turn off, it just releases that line and the power goes off. So when it's off, which is different to the original organiser, which is always maintaining its internal memory. This relies on the internal flash of the RP2040 on the Pico. You can store information in there, and obviously there's well, it's not an SD card, but there's a micro SD card slot there. This is a charging aperture for the USB-C charging module, and this is the Pico's USB, and that's where you put new firmware on. And it feels okay. Turns out it's actually quite uncomfortable in the pocket because it doesn't have the rounding on the case that this has got. There's actually a sharp edge there, and the radius is okay in this direction, but these corners are pretty sharp. So I've got another one coming with some improvements, another case. The front panel is a PCB with the 3D printed keys coming through and a legend on the PCB. That's my first attempt at a legend, and you do need either a telescope or a microscope to read these characters. So I've made them bigger here, and you can actually read them without any external equipment. And also my first attempt, you could see the connections to the display across the top. I don't really know why I did that. It would sort of fit like that, and you could see the top of the display. It was just me being silly and making a mistake with the measurements of the display, I think. So version 2 of the front panel has sort of tidied that up. And when I was thinking about it, this is a Pico with a battery. You can operate it remotely. It's got a display. Basically it's just a display and a Pico and a keyboard. And I've also got this, which is Clockwork Pi PicoCalc, and I was thinking that internally it's very similar. In fact, I may have a go at porting the code over to this. It's a Pico with a display and a keyboard and a SD card slot and some batteries, but I think this is probably more of a PicoCalc than the PicoCalc is, because it's more calculator form factor. Yeah, this definitely not pocket sized. It's bigger than the original organiser. If you look at that, it's actually almost exactly the same thickness, height or whatever, but quite a bit larger around here in the X and Y directions. This much thinner. It's it's what, half the height, and well, it's probably about half in the X direction, and 50% less. Much more pocket size. So really, I think that's more of a PicoCalc than the PicoCalc.